Recording is in progress. All right. So, first off, I'm just going to go. I mean, you could do this in Google Maps if you in your browser. I'm just going to go to the Google Earth app here. Um, I believe instead of doing a screen capture, it can actually just export natively here as a JPEG or something. Let's see, 231 South Las Vegas Boulevard, Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, so there we go. I remember like 20 years ago, that was so cool when I first saw that it would do that. Okay. Um, and I also want to make sure that everything is, okay, here we go. North is up, although we'll turn that in ours as well. And I just want to make sure that I keep this thing orthogonal top view. It starts to skew to sideways on me. I'm not sure why it does that. Maybe I won't use Google Earth just because of that.
Yeah,
Google Maps do that? I don't
I
think
think
Google
it is
Maps does
straight.
that. I think Google Maps just stops letting you zoom in once you hit a limit, right? Okay, so let me just open that up in Google Maps here. Clearly, I can't see what my browser is doing. Map. See? Last time I checked, Maps didn't have a T in it. There we go. I'll try to act just a little smarter here. 231 South Las Vegas. Come on, gotta figure out what I'm doing here. There we are. Let's turn on satellite. And it's right here, right? For our purposes, I think I'm just going to clip this. Command Shift 4 for the Mac. All right, and I should have a PNG or JPEG there to use. Meantime, while that's saving, I'm going to let Windows open here. Yeah, here's that screen grab PNG. The Villa Inn Motel. Yeah, Nevada State Bank Bridger branch. All right. Hey, they've even labeled the parking lot, the South Las Vegas Boulevard parking lot. Okay. And of course, there's a pawn store right down the street. Disproportionate number of those in the area. All
I know.
right. Yeah, that's right. It's kind of weird. Um, Wedding chapels, divorce attorneys, also bail bonds, and then a lot of courthouses and city
I saw
buildings.
I saw where the yesterday Solly mentioned like it used to be a chapel, and I went to go look it up, and apparently it was like the long-lasting chapel. It was like there for like 8 decades, apparently.
Yeah, like there was some historical value to it.
Yeah,
And in like the middle of the night, someone bought it and decided to just tear it down, and before anybody could really object.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
that happens a lot in Las Vegas. I'll be honest with you. More so than in other places.
Yeah,
Let's see. Maybe the Southwest United States. I mean, everything's so new. There's no culture of like sort of adaptive reuse like there is like in older parts of the country and certainly in other older parts of the world.
And then they just left the pad there. And it's been 4 years and they've done
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, it's
nothing.
like why did
Yeah,
they tear it down, right? Like it that cost money to tear down. Yeah, it's really bizarre, right? Like I who knows? Who knows?
maybe they ran out of money. All they had was the money to buy it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
happens all the time.
Yeah, that could easily be. That could easily be. You think about like how quickly like a big place like Resorts World went up. Then think about how long Fontainebleau sat around and
Yeah.
different phases and lingered and was almost torn down with the ship the steel off to China, and suddenly it's back in. I think they resurrected that project several times since I've been here. I've been here
Yeah.
11 years. They finally finished it, of course. I haven't actually been.
Neither have I,
Mm.
but I've seen pictures. It does look very nice.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, it does look good. Does look
Haven't
cool.
done anything with the condo tower at the Venetian though. That's still just
Oh,
holdings.
yeah, interesting. Huh. Venetian. I found out um, the hard way that the Venetian and the Palazzo don't have free parking anymore for locals. I went to the first, I went to game 3 of the Vegas Golden Knights, and I was like, I'm gonna park. Like the last time I was there, last time I was on the strip, I parked at the Venetian. It was free. So I went there and I'm like, I'll just walk. It's a nice day. It's beautiful. It's springtime. And then it was like $30 to park. I'm just like,
What?
which is still
Yeah.
a lot less than if you were doing the event parking over by the arena. But my goodness, it was a lot. And the other place that used to have free parking still was the Mirage, and of course that just closed. I don't know if TI has it or not, but it
Yeah, I
seems
think
like I was
TI
always
is the only
parking
one on
towards
the
the
strip.
north end of the strip just to walk further south. Anyway, all right. So here's my file. You guys are further along than I am, and I'm just going to go to top view. And keep in mind, I've also turned the site so that I can sort of work in the XY axis when I'm modeling my building and things like that.
Okay.
Not worrying about the strange diagonal that the Las Vegas downtown city grid is on. Um, so let's get that image in. There's several ways to do this. And the first one is called background bitmap, and I can place a background bitmap. This is on the Windows side, it's view, pull down, background bitmap. Then you can place it, then you can scale it, you can align it, move it around. It's not the greatest tool in the world, but I'll show you what that looks like. Um, yeah, okay, so let's do that. Background bitmap, place. It's going to ask me, well, which one do you want to use? There's the screenshot I just took at 2:01 p.m. And then it's going to ask me to the top bottom left corner and then drag it to let's say the top right. It's not showing me a preview of the map at all during that time. So this thing has a little bit of I'll say that this tool has its limitations. First of all, it's in grayscale. So I'm going to say no. Okay. And then I can keep going back to this and saying background bitmap, and let's rotate it. Do I move it, align it? Let me try align maybe. Base point on bitmap, reference point on the bitmap. I'm just going to sort of find what would be a straight street edge, and then base point. And then a reference point. Again, I'll just turn on my ortho, and that still didn't work. It didn't rotate it. It just, yeah. Okay. So this image is silly. When that happens, and let's say I just want to quickly rotate this image, like I'm done screwing around with this. Let's just rotate the image. You can always open up Photoshop. Have either of you used Photoshop much in the
No.
past? Okay. All right. So when we have images like PNGs, JPEGs, TIFFs, they're raster graphics, they're broken up into a grid. Each pixel is designated as a color. When you zoom out far enough, it has high enough resolution, it fools your brain into thinking you're seeing a photo. And sorry, this was off on my second monitor. I guess last time I was using this. All right, so I can open up Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, and open, and actually, let me just do this. I'll just drag the file and drop it onto Photoshop. So you can just go file open. I don't know what this is doing right now, but it's taking up a little bit of my bandwidth here. Sorry, I just ran an update. What
No,
you'll
it's
find is
okay.
that you pay a monthly subscription for the Creative Cloud, Adobe Creative Cloud. So they're constantly reminding you like, hey, there's an update to Photoshop you can download, or an update to Lightroom, or update to InDesign for Illustrator. Apparently it's I updated Bridge, Adobe Bridge, and now it's taking its dear sweet time. So this is Photoshop. And just like with Illustrator, I can just use the command or control plus and minus to zoom in or out. What you can see is that the frame is here. That this is the image, and that this dark gray background is just nothingness. Just part of the interface. Okay, there we go. That's done. All right, sorry. So let me try to be a little more eloquent here in describing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image, and I just want to sort of get some handles around it. What? I don't know. Just leave me alone, Adobe Bridge. Sure, I don't care, Adobe Bridge. All right. Yes, whatever, Adobe Bridge. Come on. All right. All right. So I think it's done bothering me. What I want to do is I want to get this image, and I just want to have handles on the corners that I can sort of click to and begin to rotate things around. Okay, I get it. What is, I never even use Adobe Bridge. Sorry, I don't know why this just popped up. This would be, I guess, why everything was acting so sluggish here on my machine. All right, well, that's thinking about how to close. Quit. Jesus. All right. There's a couple of things here. One is that you can see that I have a layer called layer one. And so if I, in my layers box, make sure that layer one is selected, I can go to the edit pull down, I can say transform, and I can say rotate. Now I can rotate this freely until I get something that looks like it's more aligned with X and Y. Okay. I wasn't too careful about where I was cropping this thing, and really what I want to do is I want to make sure that this block is accurate. This block is fully contained within the image, so I'm not really worried about cutting off this corner or this corner up here, or having open space over here. What I really want to do is make sure I can get this block zeroed in. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter when I'm done rotating. So again, I made sure I had that layer selected, went to the edit pull down, transform, and then you can, there's scale, there's rotate, there's skew, distort, perspective. We'll actually talk about Photoshop a lot more later, and we'll actually start to take some of the renderings from Rhino and Revit, bring them into Photoshop, and start adding things in perspective. So you don't have to worry too much about Photoshop at the moment, but if you need to rotate an image, this is how you do it. Just make sure I save it, then I'll just close everything out. All right, so with any luck, let me just go back to view pull down, background bitmap, and I'll just say refresh. Ah, yeah, so I resaved it. It linked up to that PNG file. So it's always just calling that PNG file and linking it in here. As soon as I changed and saved that PNG file, I could come back into Rhino and say refresh it. It goes back to that linked file, sees the changes, redisplays it here. So now it's just a matter of me moving it and scaling it correctly so that it matches up with our map. But again, you can see that it's kind of limited in how you do this. I mean, it's not the greatest tool. It could be a lot easier to use. But what if I did this? It went there. All right. And now from there, I can keep snapping at that point and sort of scaling things up or down until it works. So let's see. If I then try a scale, and I scale it, let's say here's the other edge, and I want to scale it to about here. Now we're getting much closer. Now I can see the limitations of the CAD information versus the photograph that we're using, right? But again, now I can start to see, well, actually, it looks like the alleyway should move back a bit. And so you can then begin to sort of redraw or extend, and then slide some of the buildings around, make the building edge match up over here, right? Part of this is because, again, the satellite image is never completely orthogonal to the position that it's looking at. I mean, it's always going to have a little bit of distortion and, anyway. But then again, we're trying to measure in terms of feet, but a satellite is how many miles above the Earth, and looking down on things. And so, there's always like a sort of tolerance issue, right? I mean, the tolerances involved with making something complex like our laptops or computers is different than, let's say, the tolerances used in construction for buildings is different than the tolerance used for large public works like dams and other forms of infrastructure, freeways, freeway on-ramps, and flyovers and streets and things like that. So anyway, you get the idea, right? So that's if you use the background bitmap. I believe there was also something called image as a command. I don't see it here in the pull down menus, but let me just type in, it's either image or picture. I can't remember. Picture. So what that'll let us do, let's see, first corner of picture, other corner. So this will let us like actually position things and scale it while we can actually view the thing while we're looking at it. And I believe we can also use the gumball with it and move it around and scale it and rotate it around. So I'm sorry even for using the background bitmap. This looks like it's much more easy to use, the image tool, because you can move it, you can rotate it around. Like I said, it has the gumball. It has the scale handles. Yeah, so let me just get rid of the background bitmap. Let's just remove it. And here I can just sort of move this thing around as needed until it's scaled and moved perfectly. Having a hard time differentiating. Here we go. It's like, not quite sure what I was looking at here. There we go. And we're halfway close. Go to see what this looks like in perspective here. Should be a way to scale this. Let me turn off the where's my layers? Where are my layers? There they are. Not sure why my layers aren't showing up. Sorry, my Rhino's like doing something crazy, which is weird. I only have a 204 kilobyte file. I'm not sure what's going on here. Yeah, sorry, my laptop just always acting kind of strange.
It's okay. Mine does too.
But anyway, I can always turn on ortho and I could say, well, maybe this isn't quite aligned yet. So let's find that blue rotation, move it so that it's perfectly aligned or as aligned as best as we can make it. You can sort of move it with the arrows, the gumball arrows. There should be also a scale, extrude open. I'm not sure why I don't see scale handles here, but of course I can scale. Let's see, scale. and click here and then say, well, I want this to be sort of aligned with this, right? Now maybe I need to go back and rotate and position things a little better. So I get things lined up. But that's how you can do that. And it's using just the picture command, which is actually, it looks like it's a much more helpful than the background bitmap command that I showed you earlier, that tool. Yeah, so it looks like the alleyway sort of slices through here. And so this edge would need to move over a bit. If I wanted to do this, maybe the quick way, maybe the slow way. Let's see there, let's see. I could select this point, and that point all together and move that over to where I want it to be, right? That gives me more room here and probably makes this more aligned with 144 by 48. And then I guess of course I can start moving the buildings into the right place. Or redraw them if I need to, right? This one looks a little off to me. Yeah. All right. And the same with the post office, you can choose how you want to draw that post office. But now clearly has a much better shot at actually being in the right spot if we move it. And then, sort of, again, people I think I'm not sure where they got these files, the building footprints from, if they're just if they were trying to use some sort of machine learning algorithm to trace edges, and then, or if people were just quickly tracing around things. But that's the operative word, is quickly and not so accurately. So, for your own work, I would say focus in on this block and getting this block just right. And then everything else can just sort of follow suit from there as needed, right? I mean, I'm I'm not sure if I'm going to really redraw this whole building, if I'm just going to move it closer to the right position. Same thing with this one. For our purposes, we don't need that much accuracy, to be honest, right? But that's how you can begin to use these images, a map image, a satellite image, or whatever, to your advantage, and bring it in and then get everything all set. Okay.
Can you export that line work or save that line work as a PNG without the image behind it?
Uh,
Or
yeah,
does
in
that?
fact, yeah, you can. Oh, as a PNG. Well,
So
you want to
if
get
you,
line work out, right?
huh?
You want line work out?
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is instead of bringing the image in and adjusting it, I'm thinking of taking the line work that you have for the streetscape and
Uh-huh.
exporting that as a PNG, taking that into Photoshop, and then adjusting the image with the line work in Photoshop, and then bringing that image back in underneath the line work. So it probably makes it a lot, because Photoshop's going to be way easier to scale that image, because yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And
Yeah, you can. I mean, here's what I would do. I mean, first of all, I mean, if you want this image gone, I'm just selecting it, and I can just hit Control H, and it hides whatever I have selected.
okay,
Or I can put it on its own layer. That'd be
you can
even
turn it
better.
off.
Turn that layer off, right? So you can turn that layer on and off however you need it. Maybe I put this on its own layer called sat image. And let me just convert it over. I don't know why this is. Let's see. Okay, here we go. I was just hitting the wrong button. Turn it to sat image. I can always turn that layer off then, and on or off the way how needed. Yeah, from here you could just simply, again, that view pull down capture to file, that just captures whatever's on your
Oh,
viewport. So if I have a wireframe view and top, right, I can tell it that. I could also tell it I wanted perspective instead. But I can go to top, I can do transparent background. I can give it, whatever You can bring that into Photoshop and then you know with two different layers going on. What you want to do though probably is you want to make sure that you have a transparent background and that you save as a PNG to preserve the transparent background, so that when you have this on a different layer in Photoshop, you can have this one overlaid on top, and then you can start to resize the thing in the image in Photoshop below it, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Because this
Yeah,
would be like the top piece of trace, so to say, and the satellite image would be the
exactly.
bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, because I see what you're doing, and
It's a little
I
cumbersome in Rhino.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot cumbersome. I'll put it that way. Yeah. Let's see here. Let me just close mail. So that's not okay. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, totally. Because then if you look at that image from Google Maps,
Yeah.
where it's showing a lot of our the buildings and why they're kind of, I don't know, what's a good word, skew with, right? So they're not all buildings, but then when you look at the Google Maps plan, you can see there's a lot of concrete pads, parking lots that we talked about yesterday, and there's only
Yeah.
a few buildings, and so that's maybe why it looks a little bit strange
Yep.
in, yeah,
That
so
sometimes it's had a hard time. Somebody was interpreting a shadow as part of a building,
right.
you know, or an overhang or, you know, something like that. It's kind of weird. So absolutely. Yeah. Do well in sort of cleaning up this block, ground zero here.
Okay.
Everything else can follow suit based off of that. I mean, it's not nearly as big of a deal. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a lot of vacant lots. Um, this shape looks really funky to me. There's nothing there, right? It's just empty.
Yeah, it's just
But
empty.
they
And
have this
maybe,
weird building footprint there. Maybe there used to be a building footprint there. Um, you might double check and try to confirm that one way or the other. And of course, now there's a building footprint here on the northeast corner of that block, Carson and Sixth, the southwest corner of Carson or Carson and Sixth, but it's the northeast corner of that block. Um, but yeah,
yeah, and I think,
there's a lot of parking.
yeah, when we go there as well and walk around the space and walk around the site, we'll be able to see, take some pictures and then understand what has actually changed, compare that to Google Maps, and then we
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
really tidy
exactly.
up that whole block.
Exactly. All right. Um, as far as I'm concerned, do you guys just want some time to work?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I found is handy about this is if you get started, I'll be here. I won't be talking. Just shout at me if you need something. And that way we make sure you're well on your way. For over the weekend, if you run into difficulties, we can try to take care of them before the class ends. Okay.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to stop sharing and I'll
Okay.
stop recording. I'll go ahead and upload this. I'll leave. I'll make one of you host really quickly temporarily.